Welcome everybody. It is Training Tuesday and we are back for another week and another training. So as always, I am here checking on my other monitor to make sure that the video comes up, and as you guys join me, that I can see chats, I can see who's here and say hello. So if you are here with me live, I would love for you to say hello, tell me where you're from. I see Christine is out there. Hello, Christine. I'm gonna try to watch the comments as we talk tonight. Tonight should be fun because the topic tonight is how to take back control without being controlling. And that's a thing. I was thinking about that. I was like, well, can you really do that? Can you really take back control of anything, of a situation, of something that's gone sideways, and take back control without actually feeling like you're controlling every aspect of it? And I think you can, because when we talk about the difference between kind of being in control and being controlling, well, there is a difference that way. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But what had me started on this topic was because last week when I was thinking about training for this week, I was actually thinking about something completely different. And then the weekend hit. So this weekend is one of those weekends where it should have been, I don't know, a full moon or Mercury retrograde, or I don't know what it was. But this should have been one of those weekends where just the planets weren't aligned, everything was going sideways. And it started with the weather. So I don't know how this holiday weekend was for you guys, depending on where you are. Christine, I know you're here. Hey, I know you're here with me in New England, and it was awful. It was pouring rain. It was cold. It felt like November. And that was just the start of how my weekend went completely sideways. Because of course I had huge plans this weekend for weeding my yard, which desperately needs it, for planting new bulbs, getting some summer flowers going, right? I had all this stuff. Hey, Jill, happy to see you. So it didn't happen. And there were a lot of other things that went wrong. And I'm gonna use my weekend as the example of how we step into attempting to regain control without being terribly controlling. And we'll see if it makes sense and if this is something you guys can relate to. And I think you can. So Christine says, when I try to take back control, I just become a bitch. Yeah, and that is what happens when we start, but that's when we get into controlling mode as opposed to just taking back control. So for those of you who are with us and who don't know me, my name is Natalie Hahn. I am CEO of Dirty Girls Consulting, and you are part of our wonderful group, Accelerating Leadership for Professional Women. So welcome. I'd love for you all to say hi in the chat like Jill and Christine did, and let us know where you're coming in from. And as I'm going through this, if you have questions or comments, for me or for anybody else in the group who's watching, share them. As much as we can make this interactive, the more fun it is for all of us. So thank you for joining me tonight. And as I had started describing, so my weekend started going sideways just with something as basic as the weather, which I can't control. So it was 40 and 50 degrees, it was pouring rain, it was cold for pretty much the entire weekend. And I hope for you guys who are in different parts of the country, you had better weather than Christine and I did. But it meant that all plans for gardening and somehow making the outside of my house just a little more curb appeal wasn't happening. So on top of that, here's the litany of things that went wrong this weekend. My dog did get sick. I wrote about that this morning, I think. My dog got sick in a way that wasn't just like he ate something nasty in the yard. He was sensitive. He was having pain in his back. Every time we touched him, he started yelping. He wasn't eating. He was vomiting, even though he wasn't eating. He was very lethargic. For those of you who know me, that dog is the love of my life. He's a big 110, 115 pound on his fat days, 115 pound Akita. He's very goofy for a big aggressive dog, and he's also very energetic. So him being lethargic, not wanting to go on walks, and he loves the cold, rainy weather. So he was just all out of sorts. But when the back pain happened, I thought, I gotta take him to the vet. This is not good. Even though it was a Sunday on a holiday weekend. Which for those of you who have pets, you know that just means you've got to go to the very special emergency vet with their very special rates. So I had a shopping trip planned with a girlfriend, canceled that. And actually it worked out better for both of us anyway. We both had other things to do. Went to the vet and our emergency vet is still in COVID, with the COVID precautions. So some states are opened up. Massachusetts is one that I'm in that has opened up, but our vet was still practicing the COVID precautions, which means you pull up to the door, they take your dog from you, and you sit in the parking lot and you talk to the vet and the technicians by phone. Well, I was in front of that door for an hour with my sick dog, waiting for them just to come get him. And then I pulled into the parking lot and waited, and it was another 2 hours before the vet called me to give me their initial assessment. And then it was another 2 hours. So all told, 3 to 9:30 in that parking lot at the vet's for my dog, who is doing much better, thank you. He's got some sort of tick-borne disease and is on different medications, but he's eating again. He's got his energy back, so all is good there. But my point is that ate up my entire Sunday afternoon and evening. Like nothing else was happening that day. And an added expense on top of Friday's weather and not getting any of my housework done. And then Monday rolled around and my car died. Flat out died. On a corner at a busy intersection, it dies. And it took 2 solid hours for the tow people to come to tow it away. And the ironic thing about this is that I had just decided in the last week that I was going to sell this car, and now there's something up with the transmission. So 2 hours spent waiting for a tow that I hadn't expected. Having a car dead, hadn't expected, and I actually have meetings in Boston this week, so I need a car. Had plans to actually, my shopping trip from Saturday that got canceled partly because of the dog appointment, got moved to Sunday, and I was supposed to drive, but now I didn't have a car. So then my friend had to drive. And the last cherry on top was my oldest son coming in to tell me the dryer's not working. The dryer that I just had fixed maybe 3-4 months ago, it hasn't actually been working that long, and already it's not working again. So I had this litany of things going completely sideways this weekend, which maybe if I were a different kind of person, I would have been just flat out insane. Insane. I can't tell you, it's not like I was happy about these things, but there's a way to roll with the punches that just makes life a little more bearable. And that's a little bit of what I want to talk about tonight. Feeling like you have control when things are going sideways, the uncontrollable happens, and yet not feeling that grasping, controlling aspect of it. So Jill, sorry to hear about your dog. Been there. Oh, I'm sorry. When you put down your dog, that is the worst thing in the world. There's nothing harder than making that choice. So I am sorry to hear that. I was nervous for a little while because of just touching him on his back. He was yelping and in pain, and I didn't know what that was. So I'm very happy that his drugs are working. He's eating again. He seems to be doing better. But the pets are the hardest too, because they can't actually tell you, right, where the pain is or what, if they're nauseous, right, any of that stuff. So anyway, that's the litany of things of how my weekend went sideways. So nothing really that I wanted to get done was getting terribly done. So when this happens, where can we go? When you think about the times you've had, and hopefully you didn't have a weekend like mine, but I guarantee that you've had one in the past. You've had some weekend or some day or even just a morning where you just kind of sat there and thought, oh, the universe is out to get me. I don't know what I did. I don't know why, but the universe is out to get me. So I want you to think about that time and what were the feelings that came up in you, right? For some people, the automatic go-to is this feeling of anxiety, anger, frustration. Christine had said she tries to control and then she becomes really bitchy, right? We get down this path of kind of the whirling dervish, right? The whole, I got to get everything fixed. I got to fix it all right now. And I've got to do it all myself. And the hell with what anybody else wants, because I got to fix this thing. I'm not doing this. Whatever went wrong, I'm not putting up with this anymore. That's one place that we go. Another place that we tend to go that's very common is this mode of feeling the loss of power, feeling helpless, feeling victimized. right? And so when we're in that mode, we don't do anything. We're just like, the world is out to get me. I don't know why the world is out to get me, but there's nothing I can do. And so we're frozen. We stay stuck where we are. We don't make choices. We don't move forward because we just feel like, you know what? It's all blowing up. Just let it blow up. It's just gonna blow up. And so we're stuck, we're frozen, and we're helpless. So I'm curious, as you're listening to me describe this, if you guys identify kind of being in one place or the other, maybe it's a little bit of both. We have both of those energies. Both of those are kind of victim mode energies. One is the victim who's paralyzed and helpless and feeling powerless. And the other victim is angry and grasping for power, grasping for control, and kind of bulldozing their way through. So I'm curious which one of those profiles might resonate with you when you've had that moment where things have just blown up, things have gone wrong. Those are the two most common places that we go, and variations of those themes are where we go. And what ends up happening when we're the whirling dervish one, right? When we're the angry bulldozer who's just trying to make things happen and fix things and get things back on track, the process we go through in that is the grasping. And what we end up doing is using anger, using manipulation, being a bully. So we tend to alienate people when we're in this mode. As opposed to getting them to help us and cooperate with us, we're really just pushing at them to just get out of the way so that we can do what we need to do. So one of the things that makes it ineffective is that we're lashing out. We're not connecting with people and getting them to come on board with us and help us solve this thing that went sideways. We're pushing them away. And yet sometimes at the same time that we're pushing them away, or we're being a little bit bullying, we're demanding things of them. So it can put a rift in what was possibly previously a good relationship, or it could simply make sure that there's a relationship that never gets very close because that person on the receiving end doesn't want a lot to do with that. When we're in the frozen mode, what ends up happening? Nothing. When we're frozen, nothing happens. We allow ourselves then to be the victim of circumstance. We essentially give up power. We let other people then have the control and take the control. And that means we remain a victim. We remain in this sort of helpless mode. And oftentimes, if you're in this mode, you're in your head. And in your head, you're replaying over and over the scenes or the moment or the conversations, whatever it was that kind of led up to this break point. You're playing it over and over in your head. And you're basically reliving it. And you might even be reliving it hoping that, well, if I had this conversation again, I'd do it this way. Or this is what I'm going to say to them next time. But it's completely useless, wasted energy because you're in the past. And you're not dealing with what's in front of you right now in the present. So neither of these is particularly helpful, right? Neither of these modes. And there's another layer to this, and I'll be curious what your guys' strategies are when you get into these modes, either one of these modes, right? These are our two most common stress roles, right? We're either a victim, we're either a helpless victim, or we're an angry victim. Those are the two most common profiles we go to when stressed. There's a second layer of effects when we're in that mode. So for me, when I'm in stress mode, I am a fantastic emotional eater. I will eat every bag of chips in the house. And if there's onion dip, forget about it. It's all gone. If there's queso, also all gone. I could do the cookies and the sweets, but my go-to is typically chips. So for me, it's emotional eating. For other people, it might be like some people do obsessive exercising. I have a client who does a lot of exercising. And we think in doing the exercising that we're getting the stress out, but what we end up doing is just exhausting ourselves. So now physically we're stressed because we're exhausted on top of the emotional stress or mental stress for whatever went wrong. When I do the emotional eating, what happens? I'm beating myself up mentally because I know what I'm doing. I know it's not good for me. And I'm doing it anyway because it's comfort food, right? It's making me feel better about a situation that either I can't control or just didn't go my way. People turn to drinking and drugs, right, for the same thing. But we find other behaviors that become part of our crutch when we fall into this mode of where we've lost control. And this is why there's a reason all of us have a BMI a little bit higher than we want it to be. And yeah, stress does that. Stress turns us to how do we self-soothe? How do we comfort ourselves? And when we're in a stress mode in particular, we tend to comfort ourselves like to the extreme. Because I don't just eat the ounce of chips that the Food and Drug Administration says is a proper serving, which is a lie, by the way. Nobody eats just an ounce of chips. That's just silly. But I eat the whole bag. I eat the entire bowl of onion dip and the entire bowl of queso, and I'll go get another bag just to make sure I finish it off, right? We go to the extremes when we're stressed because we're trying to fill that ache, that inner emotional, mental ache, whatever it is. So when you think about self-soothing, here's something else that we do, and this is a really important one to think about and be conscious of. We do reach out to people to help offer us support, right? We'll call and complain to a friend, oh, I can't believe this happened to me, right? And we've got a good, comforting, nice ear that listens to us. But sometimes in that moment of stress, we don't necessarily call the best people to support us in that situation. And here's what I mean by this. A lot of times when we're falling into stress mode, we're falling into old patterns, right? Me eating chips by the bag is an old pattern. Not a healthy pattern, but an old pattern. We have some relationships that are old patterns. If you are on a path of trying to change yourself, if you're on a path of trying to increase your level of awareness, increase your level of being intentional, increase your confidence in your leadership skills, what happens? Sometimes the circle of people around you, your friends and family who are immediately around you, they are watching you change and grow, and they're not all comfortable with it. Some of them want the old you back, right? The old you that fit nicely in what we call the crab bucket. And those of you who've been on the training before know that I talk about the crab bucket a lot, right? The crab bucket, and if you've seen one, you know what I'm talking about, right? You get all the crabs in a bucket, and what happens? There's always the one crab trying to climb its way out. And it's trying to hook its, pincher over the top of the bucket, but what happens? The other crabs come up and start pulling it down. The people in our crab bucket want us to stay in this comfortable place. Not comfortable for us necessarily, but comfortable for them. And it's typically where we've been for a long time. So when we're stressed, not only do we fall into old physical patterns and habits, like the emotional eating, like obsessive exercising, like reaching for a drink, but we also fall into old relationship patterns, which means we might call that one friend that we had been thinking about putting some distance between us, but just because they're my oldest friend though. So this is just the natural person I would go to. It's my sister, of course I'm gonna call her. If in a different moment, you recognize that's not the healthiest relationship for you and you're putting distance, but in a stress moment, you pick up the phone and call them, you're calling your crab bucket. That is definitely a piece of this I want you to be thinking about as we talk about like how do we take back control without the controlling piece. Paying attention to the crab bucket friends and who we call and turn to support us, who's in our kind of new growth, our new friends, our new circle, is actually very important to do, because that's showing that intentionally you're building a new support network and intentionally you're reaching out to people who are supporting your go forward goals, not the who you were or the where you were 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 6 weeks ago. So think also about whether or not you fall into a pattern of reaching out to your crab bucket. So here's how, I'm gonna walk through how we can take back control without being controlling. And like I said, the distinction is that when we take back control, what is it we're really taking back control of? I can't control the weather. I can't control that my dog got sick. Had no idea the car was gonna die. Can't control the dryer going out again. Those are 4 significant things. Significant because what? They cost me time, they cost me money, they changed my plans. Literally nothing this weekend went as I expected it was going to go. Now, I could sit in my martyr victim mode and say, oh, poor me, the universe was out to get me this weekend. Clearly it was. But that doesn't get me anywhere. That doesn't feel good, and it doesn't give me any value, any benefit back. Except for a pity party, and I would have people feeling sorry for me as I tell them my sad story, right? I could go into anger mode and try to bulldoze my way to better solutions, but what would those be? I can't force my dog to not be sick. I can't force the weather to change. Suppose I could be an angry gardener and garden in the pouring rain anyway. Not sure that would be fun or effective for anybody. I could get mad and kick the dryer. Again, it's just a reaction. I could get mad at the car. I'm a little mad about the car, I will tell you, I'm a little mad about the car. I could spend a lot more energy being angry about the car, being mad at the tow truck driver for taking 2 hours. There's just all kinds of ways I could have spent my energy on this, right? And in spending my energy, I would have been grasping for control. I talked to the owner of the tow truck company. The owner of the tow truck company actually was kind enough to call me to say, hey, listen, it's a holiday weekend and, we're trying to get somebody there as fast as possible. Here it is. And I could have been mad, and I could have bullied, and I could have pushed and said, you have 1 million trucks in this fleet. You've got to get somebody here faster. There are lots of ways I could have handled these situations to try to push through to a conclusion that would have made me feel like I was getting to resolution faster. The reality is, would I have really gotten to resolution faster? Maybe, maybe not, but I would have made a lot of people unhappy in the meantime. So we have to balance out what's worth it. So when you're in that stress moment though, how do you stop falling into victim mode of the frozen victim or falling into the angry mode? The first thing you do is the most cliche. It's the most cliche, but I'm sorry, it's a critical step, which is you stop, you breathe, you pause. You pause and you look at what's happening right now. So you just breathe in the moment. The moment the car dies, take a deep breath. Because what I want to do is yell at her. Her name is Ursula. My car's name is Ursula. And what I want to do is yell at Ursula and tell her that she's been beautiful for, a year now. If you know my dog, you know my car. My car is just as problematic as my dog can be sometimes. I love her too, but we have a little bit of a love-hate relationship because she's in the shop a lot. But she's been good for like a year. So I could have spent a lot of energy being mad at Ursula in that moment and working myself up in a frenzy. And instead I sit there and I have to breathe because right now I have a problem to solve. I have a dead car in an intersection. So just breathe for a moment because you know what? The rest of the world can wait while you just kind of center yourself and wrap your head around the fact that something right now has gone terribly sideways. The next thing you do is you ask yourself, what is the best possible outcome right now? Best possible outcome right now. The next question is, what is the best possible outcome long term? Because one of the things we do in that moment of stress, when something goes wrong, right? When the world goes sideways, is we look at we look at how we're going to solve the problem right now, and we ignore how could we solve this problem longer term. And when we ignore the solving the problem longer term, oh, a bunch of comments just popped up. I'm so sorry if I've missed your comments. Hello. I will get to that. When we don't look at how we solve the problem longer term, we've given ourselves a very narrow window, a very narrow view of what is actually being impacted in our world. Right, so solving my problem right now is my car has died, for example, and I gotta get it moved somehow, or I've gotta get it towed. Longer term, I've gotta think about though, and so my immediate problem is get a tow truck and get it to the nearest place Okay, but my longer term solution is actually, I have a mechanic, he's actually the next town over, which tow truck drivers don't always love. But longer term, he's my guy. And he's the guy who's not only gonna help me fix the car, he's gonna help me sell the car. So you've gotta think about not just what is in this moment, but longer term. Longer term, what's the best thing given what I'm facing right now? And you may not always have a very clear answer for the longer term, but you want to have that question in the back of your head. Now, the next piece, and again, you can do this all quickly in your head, but it takes practice. If you have more time to slow down and think about it, then I want you to slow down and think about it. Because what I want you to do is make the list of what can I do right now? What is actually possible for me to do right now that influences or helps or moves forward the best possible outcome? What can I do right now that gets me to the best possible outcome? Because sometimes we'll have a bunch of things that we feel like we have to do or we need to do, and we get paralyzed and overwhelmed. So we narrow it down. What is the best thing right now that helps me move closer to my goal? Then you've got to ask, is it doable? Can I do it? Is it doable, and is it reasonable for where I am at right now? Let's not forget that sometimes when the world goes sideways, there's an emotional cost. There's sometimes a physical cost, right? There's a drain on us that, there's a drain on us. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get to the comments too at the same time. There's a drain on us that means we may not always be in the best place or in the right place to deal with the solution in the way that we've thought of it. We may not be capable of actually following through on the action that we've defined simply because emotionally we're just not equipped for it in that moment. So you've got to ask yourself, is this the best thing I can do right now? And am I prepared to do that thing right now before you take the step? But the next thing is take the step. Then take the action, because once you've knocked one action down, you can get to the next action. You can get to the next thing that's doable, the next thing that's right for you to do. Final piece is in this whole process of regaining control. Regaining control is regaining control of you. You regain control without controlling by making sure that you are focused on the only thing that you can actually control in this entire scenario. And that thing is you. You can't control the other elements. You can't control the other people. You can't. You want to. We know what's best for them. We know what we want them to do. We know what we need them to do, but we can't actually control them or force them to do anything. The only piece we can control is here. It's us. And this is what I mean by taking back control without being controlling. So we don't worry about what our partner or our children or our friends or the random stranger, we can't stress. We add to our stress if we do it, right? We can't stress about what their reaction is going to be because we can't control that. All we can do is set ourselves up for the best possible outcome for us that hopefully encourages that action from them that we want. It hopefully encourages them to do the thing we need them to do or we want them to do. But we can't control whether they do it or not. So taking back control without controlling is all about focusing your energy on you, not on the other people or the situation. Like everything I listed about how my weekend went sideways, none of it was in my control. And none of it, there was nothing I could do to really fix it. Being angry with the tow truck company wasn't going to get me a tow truck driver any faster. Being angry with my car wasn't going to make her start again. And by the way, for me, the profile I go to the anger one more than I go to the victim one, the first victim one. I'm not usually frozen. I'm usually angry and like wanting to wield a weapon. So that's the one I'm more familiar with. But we all do both of them at different times. What I have to do is, for me, I have to control the temper. I have to control the words that want to come out of my mouth that are not going to be helpful in this situation, which is why I have to breathe. We breathe, we think of our options. We breathe and we think, what's the best thing right now? What's the best thing for the future? Am I able to take this action? Both from a physical, is this action doable? Is it possible? And am I able to take this action from am I able to handle it? Am I emotionally, mentally, physically ready, able to move forward this way? When you've knocked those down, then you take the action. And then you move on to the next action, and then the next action. And then you reach out to your support network. You figure out the ways you support yourself. You need to go for a run, or you need to go to the gym and work out that stress, go do it. Just don't work out for 3 hours. Maybe do an hour. Maybe do 30 minutes, right? Something that gets the extra energy out. Maybe you need to move your mood, because maybe that angry energy or that victim energy, right? That frozen energy, maybe there has a real grip on you. Turn on some music. Blast your favorite tunes. Move your body physically, and you will move your emotional and your mental energy. So physical exercise is good for that. Music is beautiful for that. Don't eat the bag of chips, because that's what I would do. Or if you call a mentor or a friend, call them, but make sure they're the ones who are not from the crab bucket. Call that mentor or friend who's the one that you want them to be more part of your circle or your inner circle. They're somebody that you rely on, that you want to emulate, that is mentoring you. Call a mentor, call a coach, right? But call somebody who's not judgmental about what you're dealing with or how you're dealing with it, but is just supporting you in the decisions that you're taking, that is just supportive for you in the action moving forward. So I'm sorry, I don't know why the comments like filtered in and then they're doubling up. So I'm gonna see here. I see Christina says, I absolutely dislike the victimized feeling. I know, it's the worst, right? I feel like I get sent back down to the bottomless rabbit hole with Alice in Wonderland, and the crazy queen is the only person talking to me, and she begins to make sense. That is a nightmare, Christina. But that's absolutely what that feels like, right? When you are frozen, stuck as a victim, you don't have power. Your overwhelming feeling, and it is overwhelm, but it's also, I'm overwhelmed and I don't have power. There's nothing I can do. And so it is the crazy queen who's starting to make sense, and you're starting to believe her. You're starting to believe those are the things you ought to go do. You've given up your control. You're not centering yourself and controlling for yourself. You've abdicated. Okay, it's not for some reason showing me any other comments, but it's telling me that there's a bunch here to read. So I'm not sure how that's working. I'll have to check these afterwards, and I will. But that's tonight's training on how to take back control without being controlling. And the key to this is it doesn't involve other people. It's all about you. It's all about where you're at and how you get through the moment and how you center yourself. Like, I recommend breathing. Do jumping jacks, do whatever you need to do that is that 3 to 5 seconds of back in me. I can handle this. This is my moment. I need to breathe, and then I need to think. And I know it can be hard to do when we're under incredible stress, but that is actually what makes us intentional. It makes us human. We don't have to be, we can be. We don't have to be reactionary like the animal kingdom. We can choose how we respond. It's a matter of, will we choose to do it? Will we choose to pause and move forward in a different way? So would love to, I'm gonna go back and read the comments. It's showing me only Christina's. She's the only one whose comments get to be shared tonight. So I'll go back and look, and I will respond to those. If you have questions or anything else about the training, feel free to comment on the video or reach out to me directly. As always, if you'd love to talk a little bit more about taking back control or being controlling, I have a 15-minute free consultation. It's called a Dirty Girl Mini Dig. It's not even really a consultation. It's a 15-minute coaching session where we focus on one challenge that you have, and we move you one step closer to your goal. It's free, it's 15 minutes, it's on the phone. If you're interested in setting that up, just drop the word dig in the comments. I will find them because I will go through all the comments. But drop the word dig in the comments, and I will reach out to you, and we'll schedule that time where we can get to know each other a little better, and we'll work on moving you one step closer to your goal. Thank you for joining me. As you know, I love working with you guys. I love working with all women who have big, hairy, audacious goals. I always talk about the BHAGs, and that's what Dirty Girls is about. It's about digging deeper into what our BHAGs are, into our confidence, into understanding what's holding us back, what's moving us forward, and making sure that we're creating a life that we really love. And thank you, Jill. I appreciate it. And all of my problems, this is the beauty of it, they're pretty much solvable. They're not fun, but they're solvable. So have a fabulous night. I hope you guys had a great Memorial Day weekend, despite my story. Have a great week, and I will see you again next week on Training Tuesday.